That was actually you can watch the rest of this. And if you also, the guy Walter Mischel, in case you want to punch up videos like you really wanted to do that, was on one of the last dozen or so Stephen Colbert shows. He actually had him on. And of course, Stephen Colbert quickly ate the collection of marshmallows that the psychologist brought with him. I should have shown that video. But I'll get back to what those kids, why I said what those kids did was the dancing around kids were good. First, what happens in the experiment, there's supposed to be, oh no, this is right. This simple little manipulation has a massive effect. This is not a little tiny effect. If you cover up, this is a little less interesting even, if you cover up the two rewards, kids can't see them, they're able to wait before ringing the bell 10 times longer than if the kids can see the rewards. And sort of in between if they can see one of the rewards. What happens if they can see the rewards, the situation is so frustrating, the kids ring the bell within like a minute. I mean, they just look at the reward, oh, crazy, I can ring the bell and have it, clunk. But if they can't see them, kids are much more likely to start doing something else, like dancing around or tying their shoelaces into knots or some other fun activity. And that's so distracting that once kids get into a kind of a mental cycle of distraction, then it's easy to wait. Actually, 15 minutes is when they do, you know, the guy returns into the room sooner or later to the kids, and it's at 15 minutes. A lot of kids hit 15 minutes, so actually this number is artificially suppressed. Some of the kids would have waited longer than 15 minutes. So that's not bad as things go in an experiment. Then Walter Mischel does the following thing. He asks whether individual differences in self-controllability predict anything about life in teenage years and adulthood. This was a complete fluke of a finding. I'll say I was actually at this university. I was not a student of Walter Mischel at the time that they all realized, hey, we still have the files from 14 years ago from when the kids were in the experiment in nursery school. I wonder how the kids are doing now. It was a totally fluke result. Literally, like the nursery school, this is never reported, it's just essentially clearing out space, and they've got this old filing cabinet. With the old filing cabinet, they were able to find out how good the kid was at delaying gratification on one particular day in nursery school, and then predict, too, what the kid is like in high school by going back and finding the kids. It's Palo Alto, California. It's so pleasant. People tend to stay in town once they move there. Therefore, it's possible to go to Palo Alto High School and find the parents of the kids. And they get ratings by the parents of what your kid is like. After whatever this is, like 13, 14 years, you might expect a lot of zeros. But instead of zeros, these are correlations. Kids' ability to control their impulses in nursery school predicts a whole bunch of stuff. Parents' rating of what your kid now is like yielding to temptation. Parents' rating of ability to exert self-control when frustrated. And big correlations, SAT scores. Kids who are more able to concentrate and not be impulsively distracted in nursery school have higher SAT scores in high school. This, if you're already familiar with kind of a language of emotional intelligence as being important to academic success, that's true. That's not some flimsy, unsupported thing. And this is one of the this may have been the finding that triggered that whole way of thinking, where in fact, this thing that seems to have nothing to do with academic performance, waiting for a marshmallow, that's a big correlation as things go in psychology. It predicts, you know, a big percentage of the variability in SAT scores years later. The study continues. It predicts other stuff later in life, tendency for people to, you know, into adulthood to be able to succeed in professions that require sticking with a lot of boring stuff for a few years, like being a professor. Again, end up being predictable from this marshmallow test measure. One last quick point, and then we'll do the summing up. He also runs experiments in which he teaches strategies for self-control. This shows that self-control can quickly be learned. Even in the nursery school kids, he teaches some kids a strategy. Hey, you kids, when you look at these marshmallows, think about how they're like clouds. Clouds are white and puffy like marshmallows. Or think about how they're balls. Balls are round and white like marshmallows. In a different condition, he tells kids, when you look at these marshmallows, think about how sweet and tasty they are. Boy, marshmallows are sure good. They then sit in the same setting, all the same kids, but the kids who have the mental strategy, oh, that's right, I should think about how it's fun to play with marshmallows that are like balls or they look like clouds, or essentially mentally distracted. They have a little game to play in their own mind and are able to wait 2.5 times longer before ringing the bell than the other kids. These kids are a little older than the previous experiment. That's why the numbers are a little higher. So the idea here from all these things is that it appears somewhat contrary to the trait theories that suggested a bunch of wired-in, genetically specified traits, that there's a lot of learning component to this stuff we call personality, that the social experiences can teach you some behaviors, some rules of society, some abilities to control your behavior, control your emotions, and that personality, therefore, has this changeable quality to it, not changeable like from moment to moment, but developing change over the course of 5, 10, 15 or more years of life.